Boy, oh boy, do we have a juicy topic that I don't know how everyone feels about. But if you're watching this video, you probably want to hear our take on why you should start vlogging now and why it's actually so important for not just your mental health, actually primarily your mental health for like now and in the future.
Yes.
There's actually incredible amounts of benefits, and we're going to go over every single one of them that we could think of at 10 p.m. on a random Saturday night. But there's some really good points because we have a lot of personal experiences from it.
Yes.
And guys, if you guys don't know who we are, my name's Joe, and this is...
I'm Brooklyn.
And we're married. But yeah, so...
We've been married for about 4 years now. We vlogged regularly for the first year that we were married. Year and a half.
I vlogged before we got married.
Joe vlogged before we were married. So that's where that came from. To be honest, I'd never really consumed any content that had to do with vlogging or YouTube content in general.
Yeah.
I wasn't on the internet very much.
But now I feel like
before
with
I met you,
TikTok, like vlogging, like a lot of people actually vlog on TikTok. You know, we've done those like day in the life videos on TikTok. That's like a minute long, right?
The TikTok has definitely significantly lowered the barrier for entry for creating content, especially in video format.
But people who've never consumed like 10, 15, 20-minute vlogs before are now getting a very, very condensed version of it in TikTok. And I feel like now more than ever, a lot of people want to get into this space of like video journaling, whether it's, again, in a minute TikTok or like a 10-minute video or a podcast form, right? Everyone wants to have a podcast, including us.
Yes.
Yeah. No, but one of the biggest things that vlogging will do for us, and we've noticed across the board on a lot of other people we've met, it's a really good way it's a really good format of memory building, meaning if you look back on your past, you remember how you always felt and you remember little glimpses of it, but how great would it have been to actually remember the full, like see the full picture, or at least from one angle or one view, right? From like a camera. That'd be so cool.
They always say a picture's worth 1,000 words.
And so
a video is
format,
worth so much more.
Yeah. I mean, for example, like when I was 5, I was born in South Korea, and most of my family is there. But I remember when I was about 4.5, 5 years old, I got featured in like the local news, and for the dumbest freaking thing. So I had my right foot. I distinctly remember this. It was I was riding behind my cousin. I was just holding his back because he's much older than I was. I was more the youngest of my entire family. But I was just dangling my feet, like going like, wee. You can't see my feet, but I'm dangling it. But I got my right foot caught in the wheel, and it just jammed up. And it was like in the middle of a giant park. And I remember a bunch of like policemen, firemen, the news reporter, because I guess they were doing some sort of story then. But the reality is, honestly...
The reality is Joe's been a big deal for a long time.
Oh, yeah, always. No, but like, the reality is, how true is that, though? Like, that's what I remember, but there wasn't any photos of it. And I don't know, I can't write Korean, I'm going to be honest with you. So I can't Google search 4.5-year-old getting right foot caught in some random date in South Korea.
Memory is so subjective. When, like, especially as a child, how much of what you remember is true.
Well, well, do you guys remember when you were young, things used to be a lot bigger or feel a lot bigger compared to they are?
Have you ever visited your childhood water park as an adult?
It's
smaller, a weird feeling. It's a really weird feeling.
It is, for sure. And then, like I said, like I don't have any even images to come out of that, so I don't know how big of a scope it was. I remember as a kid, I was like crying my eyes out and stuff because it didn't hurt.
But like, I'm sure it felt like the end of the world.
Yeah, it felt like my life was just in like, whoa, like I don't know how to explain it as much, but I don't know how big of a deal it really was. Was there even a policeman there? Was there even a fire person there? It was on the local news, that is for sure. But like, maybe one person, maybe not like a whole van, not a whole crew or whatever. I don't know exactly how it went down because when I was 4 or 5, all I can remember, honestly, was just my foot was caught and there's a bunch of people surrounding me. Like, that's all I remember.
All that to say, if there was a video of it...
How fun would that have been
How
for me,
awesome would that be?
Yeah.
And how much, more accurate of a memory would you be able to have?
Seriously. And, like, for us, we, like... like we mentioned at the beginning of the video, we did vlog almost our entire first year of our marriage from Idaho all the way to Utah, where we moved afterwards.
We did it
And
very regularly. I think we vlogged once a week.
yeah, and sometimes twice a week. And it was super fun, mainly because we can look back on it now and have just as much fun watching it as if we
Yes.
were actually living it, which is kind of a crazy thought process, honestly.
Yeah, I know that Joe doesn't really go back and watch them now
No,
himself.
not as much.
And I don't watch them regularly, but every now and then I'll get nostalgic and I'll go back and watch a couple of the videos. Like, for example, we went to New York City for our honeymoon, and I'd never been before, and it was on my bucket list because my name is Brooklyn to walk across the Brooklyn Bridge. And
Yeah, we have a whole vlog on it. You guys can go watch it.
we have a whole vlog on it, and it's always really fun for me, especially because we have grown so much since then as individuals and together as a couple.
Yeah, by the way, those vlogs are very cringe. Like they were very 4 year ago vlogs where you're very outgoing, like, what's up, vlog fam type situation. It's cringe. That's why I don't watch it as much. But
Yeah, I'm not embarrassed of them at all because that is who we were and what we were doing.
also
then,
she
you know?
acted a lot more mature in those videos. So that's primarily
Joe definitely
why.
wanted to have an online persona.
I did. Yeah, I did.
But either way, I love being able to see those. And having that video gives me so much more memory of when we were there because whether or not it's something that we actually filmed or it's the spaces in between when the camera was off, because I have that framework of we were at the diner, we went to the color factory, and then we went and did something else.
Yeah.
I have an easier time recalling the space in between because I don't have to remember the pieces that I can already see.
Yeah. And the other big thing with that being said is scientifically speaking, when you don't use a neurological circuit in your brain, sorry, this can be very
Ooh, he's getting smarty pants.
yeah, and getting jumbled in my own words, I guess. But like, if you think of your memory less and less, that neurological link doesn't go. It doesn't fire as frequently, and that's how you lose memory. That's how you start forgetting a lot of things. But when you visually see something, aside from just trying to remember it, that link is. It's going to be easier for you to fire those neurological links in your brain to have them be stronger. And then that way you can just recall things. Again, sorry guys, if this is very, very rudimentary English to explain a very scientific thing. But that's kind of what happens in your brain. And the more, and like on a daily basis, you're not going to recall your entire life. I mean, that'd be so boring. You just sit there and just think about your entire life just so you don't forget about it. No, you don't have to do any of that if you just vlogged it, first of all. You know, like again, like vlogging isn't that's like an end all be all. That's the only way you can remember things.
No, there are
But-
many different ways to record your life, for sure. Whether it is vlogging, whether it's doing an audio journal, which
like
is something that this podcast could be for us to look back on. An analog journal, which is what the previous generation was able to use because that's what was readily available.
Oh yeah.
Or even if you open up a Google document and you just add to it as a journal for yourself when you find the time.
Yeah, and so the reason we say now is because every single day you're not doing something to recall your memory, whether again it's vlogging, journaling, or whatever it may be. I mean, it's as simple as taking a picture on your phone. That's literally, I feel like the wholesome part of social media that I wish grew further in, which is just the like
The journaling.
the journaling.
It is the most beautiful part, in my opinion, of social media is being able to journal your life, being able to take photos and store them somewhere with a caption of what you were doing at the time.
Yeah.
And have those to look back on. And your digital footprint is theoretically forever.
Yeah.
So you aren't going to lose those images, which is a great thing.
And that's the nice part about, like I said, social. Sorry, if you hear squeaking, that's our dog playing with a squeaker toy. I think it's got it right here. All right, here it is. Sorry, Cooper. We're gonna give it back to you later. But I forgot my train of thought there for a second. But yeah, so it's as simple as taking a picture or journaling on a notepad or whatever it may be to you. But if you start now, you'll be able to recall so much more later down the road. Sorry, that's a repeat, but I think that's one of the most important things about vlogging.
Yes, and vlogging has never been more accessible than right now.
Yeah.
And there are lots of things that you can do to make vlogging easier for yourself.
Exactly. And just to backtrack one step before that is if you don't do it now, the likelihood is you're most likely going to procrastinate. That's just the honest truth, right? It's like
human
working
nature,
out, right? Like everyone has their New Year's resolution, but honestly, if you don't do it even before the New Year's, the likelihood that you're going to do it after New Year's is very, very unlikely. So that's why we're trying to create an urgency. You don't have to go do this by no means, but like for us, it's a reminder to us is it's now, you know, we live in the now. You can look back on the present, which is great. And to really maximize that, you have to do something now to be able to look back into the present. And was it in like the fitness world? I'm not like crazy jacked or whatever, but trying to get better in shape. But in the fitness world, you know, there's always a saying, if you don't do it today, you're not going to do it tomorrow. If you're not going to do it tomorrow, you're not going to do it the next day. Then when do you actually start? You lose all of that. And how sucky would that be? You know, like, what if you have something really crazy fun that happened today to you and you did nothing to remember it? 5 years from now, you may not even be able to recall that. That moment
may be gone.
Yeah, it may be gone. Well, I know for a fact, majority of the detail will be gone, right? Like try to think of something memorable 5 years back to you.
Or last Tuesday.
Yeah, or last Tuesday.
What did you do last Tuesday? What did you eat for dinner?
Yeah.
You got home from work and...
Or actually, what's even harder, what were you thinking about when you were making dinner? You know? And again, you don't have to vlog every little detail, but it just makes it so much easier. Like we can look back on our vlogs, and we were pretty open back in those vlogs. Yes, I was a little bit more of like a extra persona, but I was being a lot of myself, and I can look visually at how I acted, and I honestly can remember what I was thinking, which is kind of crazy, right? It's not just what I was doing, but I can remember what I was thinking. And that's pretty crazy because I'll tell you right now, I do not remember what I was thinking last Tuesday when I'm making dinner.
Yes,
you know?
And on the lines of remembering how you felt and what you were thinking at the time, it gives a great frame of reference for personal growth.
Yeah, it's so nice because when you look back on it, you can see how immature you may have been. Like I said, you guys can look back on our vlog. I'm not trying to plug our own vlogs back then, honestly. Don't watch it. It's pretty cringe on my part. But I can look back on it and see, like, that's the kind of person I was 4 years ago.
And it's not something that I'm not proud of.
No,
I'm incredibly proud of us. But we have... our brains have theoretically fully developed now. They were not when we first met.
Yeah.
And both of us have grown individually and grown together as a couple so much since then that it's pretty fun for me to look back and see.
Sorry, guys. Cooper's begging to get his toy back. He keeps touching Brooklyn.
He's patting me on the arm.
Yeah.
But it gives me the opportunity to look back and say, wow, I'm so proud of who we were then.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of the intentional work that we've put in since then to become what we hope is better people.
Yeah, it honestly builds your confidence up. Because,
yes.
I mean, the likelihood that you were worse 5 or 4 years ago is very unlikely. You can always look back and even see, even if it's the smallest little progress, it's still progress. And for Brooklyn and I, we are very progress-oriented in our marriage and in ourselves. We truly believe in intentionality in almost everything we do because it makes it more fun. If you're intentional with life, life becomes more fun. Even
it becomes more fun
things.
And it's less likely to just pass you by.
Right. I think one of the biggest examples that, by the way, this is our second take of the podcast, so this is what we're kind of referring to. But what Brooklyn said in the first one that we did delete, but whatever. There's nothing important in there, but except for this, which is, sorry guys. She was talking about social media. You know, you can easily consume content. But if you're intentional about what you consume instead of the content consuming you, I promise you the content you're going to watch is going to be so much more enjoyable. The example I can say is, you know, when you're bored, you know, most people will pull out their phones and do something, right? But when you're bored and you know you want to watch content, just do that quick little exercise in your own head. I want to go on TikTok for about 5 to 10 minutes, but I'm only going to do it for 5 to 10 minutes. So stick to it, watch the content, fully digest and enjoy it. I promise you, it's going to be almost 10 times better. And it's going to make you so much happier.
Being intentional about what you consume.
Absolutely.
I I find for my personal self that there is a balance in my life when I'm happiest between consuming content and creating content. And whether it's content or not, consuming versus creating.
Yeah.
So another example would be food.
Yeah.
Consuming great food at a restaurant is something that Joe and I very much enjoy. But I also enjoy creating food at home and taking the time to do that, building that skill set and building confidence in myself through my ability to create food that we're going to eat.
Yeah.
Same thing with vlogging. I enjoy watching vlogs. There's a couple of people that we follow. I enjoy watching TikToks. I enjoy listening to podcasts. But I also find a lot of self-confidence and a lot of fulfillment learning the skill sets needed first off to even begin to do those things. Learning how to cook, learning how to film a video, edit a video, film a podcast, and putting the time and effort into it, and then being able to see the fruits of my labors. I think finding that balance in your life when our society is so consumer driven, at least for me personally, has significantly improved my mental health.
Yeah, and I think any creatives or anyone that's out there, when you do something to create something in any means, whether it's vlogging, like Brooklyn said, even cooking or knitting or anything, honestly, it's super fun and enjoyable. For example, like even in sports, you're creating points for your team by either scoring more or working as a team. Creation of any sort makes you feel really good.
When you go outside and touch grass, as the phrase is, you are going to be more fulfilled than just scrolling on a screen.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Sorry, I am so distracted. Cooper has never begged this much before, so we should probably wrap this up a little bit to see what he wants. But that's one of that. Sorry, there's probably a lot more we can go into why you should start vlogging now, but we also don't want this to run like an hour long. We may make a part 2 if you guys ask for it, but part of our urgency to you now is why you should start vlogging now. Aside from all those other things, I think the last thing I want to touch on, aside from creation, importance, remembering, is the fact that your life is super important. Even if you feel like you're doing the lamest, most boring, monotonous, tedious stuff, it's important. I promise you.
It's important. It's a part of your story. Yeah. It's a part of who you are. It's a part of your life right now.
Everything you do, I promise you, it is important. So please do not ever degrade yourself by saying, hey, my life is boring. My life isn't interesting. It is. Maybe not to everyone else in the world, but to you,
but it's your life. And if you are unhappy with your life, you are 100% the person who has the power to change that.
Yeah, and that's one thing this podcast and Brooklyn and I and our marriage were always focused on, is bringing up positivity in a very intentional way. Again, life isn't always rainbows and sunshine. Sometimes it's super stressful. Like Brooklyn and I, we own a business together. I also own a couple other ventures on myself, our jobs and of itself. Life is hectic and it is crazy and it's stressful. But regardless of all that, it's fun.
Our life, and I'm proud of it, and I do want to remember it.
And I really want to think 5 years in the future in the sense of, you know, everyone's like, oh, you know, what do you plan on doing in 5 years? I honestly don't know, but I can safely say 5 years from now, I would want to see what I was doing this year in 2023.
Yes.
And it'll be fun, especially 20 years from now. Okay. Who was I as a 28-year-old, you know? 100%. And so it's just...
I think closing out, we should give some advice.
Okay, yeah. Sorry,
guys. Let's do one or two pieces of advice what you think. What do you think somebody can do for if they would like to start vlogging, but they're not sure?
True, okay. My biggest thing is you don't have to vlog. You need to create something that you can look back on. That can be form of anything. But start doing something you can remember what you did, you know, in a week span. You don't have to do it on a daily basis, but over a week time, like knitting, drawing, whatever it is, do something that you're going to remember.
Skill set and journal.
Yeah, absolutely.
In some form. Okay.
Yeah, that's my number one advice. That. Yeah. What about yours, hon?
Mine is to just start. Yeah. If you want to learn how to vlog, the best, fastest, and I truly believe the only way to learn how to do it is to pick up some form of a camera and start filming. If you fall into the trap of researching forever it's going to be so much harder to ever actually get started. You're going to be scared. You're going to learn all of these terms, all of this information that you have no frame of reference for. Mm-hmm. As opposed to if you pick up a camera, you film a couple things, and then you say, I've done this. What do I do next? Then go to Google, find an answer. When you have experience, the answers that you get, you're going to have that framework to be able to understand them so much better than if you are only researching.
Absolutely. And even if you're just researching, by the way, though, like if you just research for 6 months straight, look back in 6 months and realize, holy crap, I actually remembered a lot of this. Last example I'll say is one of my best friends, as a childhood best friend, I told him to start learning how to program. He has no idea how to write any sort of code. And this was like a month ago. He actually took my advice and started programming. I was like, dude, just look back a month ago. How much do you know now than you did a month ago? He's like, dude, world difference. And he's not a programmer by no means. He literally just started this. But the amount of joy that brings into his life, it's incredible. It really is. And so I completely agree with you. But you guys, thank you. Hopefully, this was impactful in your life. And hopefully you start vlogging as well. If you do, tag us. We would love to see what you guys are up to. But otherwise, you guys, thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys later.